Hello and welcome back to the Double Bonus Show. I'm your host, Jake Malensik. Today, I need to give a shout out to a team that I've been having so much fun watching this season. They are one of my favorite teams to watch in the entire country. It helps that I actually have a good friend who's a fan of them, but I've watched most of their games and I really, really enjoy the way that this team plays. And I think they're the underrated team that you should watch in March. If you have not watched this team, talking about the Maryland Terrapins today on the Double Bonus Show. If you have not gotten around to watching this team, you got 6 games left. Go tune in to one of their last 6 games. This has been one of the most improved teams from last season. It's been one of the most effective teams. And honestly, I think they maybe have an argument for the best transfer class in the entire country. I know that there's a lot of options for that. But if you talk about impact transfers at key positions and key contributors, probably, well, first of all, 3 out of their starting 5 are transfers, at least in the last season, right? They have one homegrown starter in Julian Reese, who's been there, Juju Reese, whatever you want to call him. He's been there. He's their center, power forward, been there since 2022. He's grown in the system. And then they brought in a top 100 prospect, top 100 high school kid, whatever you want to call him, Derek Queen, to play their center position. 3 impact transfers, a homegrown kid, and a highly touted freshman. It is a fun starting lineup. And to me, like when you look at their 3 impact transfers, it's been 3 of their best players. I mean, their whole starting 5 is really effective. I believe their starting 5 scored every single point last game against Nebraska. 83 points. They were all scored by the starting 5. Now, they were missing their 2 biggest bench pieces in that game, so that's a little bit of a skewed stat, but you look at it. Jacoby Gillespie, the transfer from Belmont. Rodney Rice, the transfer from Virginia Tech. Selton Miguel, the transfer from South Florida. Those 3 have been crucial and huge pieces for this Maryland team. Kevin Willard had not been given a lot of credit by the national media, by the Maryland fan base, by anybody. They were not really in on Kevin Willard. He came out and he put together, for my money, the best transfer class in the country, added a highly touted freshman in Derek Queen, and kept Julian Reese to go along with Queen, right? He brought in a center and said, hey, Juju, I'm going to move you from center to power forward, and was able to keep his homegrown, the one kid on this team that kind of understood the Maryland culture, kept him there, gave him a new role, had him accept that role, and he has flourished in that new role. What do I like most about Maryland? Well, first of all, they're one of the most improved shooting teams in the country. Last year, they were like in the bottom, 340th or something in three-point percentage. Yeah, 347th in three-point percentage, 320th in effective field goal percentage. This year, how about 48th in effective field goal percentage at 55, and 43rd in three-point percentage at 37.1. That is 300 spots higher. They are shooting almost 10% better from 3. I'm rounding. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But they are one of the most improved teams in the country. Why? Because they landed the guys in the portal that could do what they lacked. Last year, the roster just didn't have shooting. Last year, the roster didn't have offense. And they really struggled to win games because their defense was really strong, but they had just a below average offense that just could not make shots. Their defense was fine, but their offense was so bad at shot making that it was really hard for Maryland to keep going on consistent runs. This year, they've kept up that defensive intensity. They're not as good adjusted defense, but they still play really hard defense. They have really physical defenders. It's funny, they're not one of the biggest teams according to KenPom's height metric, but they're a physical team, they're a long team, and they have a lot of size. So they keep up that defense, but now they've added shooters. Let's talk about this transfer class real quick. Brought in Rodney Rice, shooting 55% from 2, 36% from 3. Selton Miguel, 43% from 3. Gillespie, 40% from 3. These are the guys they've brought in, right? Jay Young hasn't shot that much. 12 from 30. 12 of 30 from 3 off the bench, the transfer from Memphis. They've added guys that did what they weren't good at, right? They added a point guard who's one of the best point guards in the country. He's one of the best assisters in the country. His assist rate is really high. He is a phenomenal free throw shooter. He hits his shots when he takes them, but he's a phenomenal distributor of the basketball as well. Rodney Rice and Selton Miguel, these are energy guys at the wings. They kind of go back and forth between shooting guard and small forward. They're energy guys at the wings. Both have hit big shots this season. I'm anticipating that Rodney Rice is going to be one of the more impactful players in March that you don't know right now. If you're not familiar with Rodney Rice's game, get familiar. He only shoots 36% from three, which is actually below their team average, but he hits gigantic shots. He's hit some shots this season that have saved kind of games. He was huge in the Indiana game. He had some big moments in the Illinois game. He has been one of the best players on this entire roster, and he's been, despite not being like the best three-point shooter, there have been moments for Rodney Rice where he just hits incredible shots. He was 5 of 7 from 3 against Indiana on the road in a game that Maryland that really didn't look like they were going to win, and Rodney Rice carried them there. And yet, that's not my favorite thing about this Maryland roster. There's one thing in basketball that I think people are not giving enough credit, and it is a two-big lineup that can be run effectively. Michigan does a really good job of this. The Cleveland Cavaliers at the NBA level do a really good job of this. And there's more teams, here and there that do a really good job of this. The team that does the best, well, I think Michigan does the best at this in the entire nation, and it's why Michigan is so hard to stop. Maryland also runs a really effective two-big lineup. Juju Reese at 6'9", freshman Derek Queen at 6'10". It is hard to guard two big men who are effective at the rim, who can handle the basketball and don't kind of force their own turnovers. They're not clumsy in the paint. They don't throw the ball away. They don't, make offensive mistakes that sometimes guys of that size can make. No, they're good at handling the ball. They're able to pass out of things. Derek Queen is improving tremendously throughout this season of kind of figuring out, okay, when I don't have my shot, what are my other options? He can pass out. And also, now, Reese isn't as good, but both of them are making free throws too. So it's not just, hey, when this kid's driving to the basket and we're up by 3 and we foul him, it's not like some big men where if you foul, it's a good foul because they might miss their foul shots. No, Queen and Reese are both hitting over 70% from the free throw line this year. Now, neither one of them can stretch the floor, but you don't need them to stretch the floor when you have 3 other guys that can do that. They do a great job. They suffocate in the paint. They do not allow Maryland to get beat in the paint area on offense or defense. This team is one of the best in the country at not getting their shot blocked. Why? Well, they take smart shots. They take good twos. But also, when you have 2 big men, it is hard for the other big men to block the shots of guards because they have to worry about Derek Queen. You're not going to see big men fading off of Derek Queen to go try and block a guard because Jacoby Gillespie, I've probably been saying his name wrong. That's a tough one for me. Gillespie is good enough that if he sees the big man coming over to block, he can pass out and then get Queen the ball. So they don't get blocked. They don't get stolen because they're smart passers. They're effective with the basketball. And they don't get blocked because their guards are good enough to kind of see what's coming. Their big men are good enough to take it to the paint and go to the rim with authority. This is a really smart offensive team. They're not like the best shooters in the country. Like, they're not going to absolutely light you up, but they are effective and they are efficient. They don't turn the ball over a lot, right? They don't get the ball stolen from them a lot. They make pretty much every kind of shot. The thing that I like most about Maryland is the cohesion, though, of this team. There's incredible chemistry between all these guys, and you have to give the team credit for being 3 transfers and a freshman, and then only 1 guy in the starting lineup who ever played at Maryland. They have developed incredible chemistry. They're great passers. They play well off of each other. This is a team that I don't know that they're going to go win the national championship, but they're a 3, 4, 5 seed probably right now, maybe 6. I don't know where they are going to be in consensus. They're a seed, wherever they are, they're a team that you are not going to want to face. If you don't have a big man who can stop Queen and a secondary player who can stop Reese, it is over for you before it starts because they will go to them and they will abuse that matchup all day long. They're very good at it. I said a lot there, but all in all, I wanted to talk about Maryland. I really, really like this roster. I really, really like the way this roster is built, and I really love what they've done in the portal, and I really love what they've brought in. Just picked up a nice win on the road at Nebraska the night before I recorded this. I'm recording this Friday morning. Thursday night, they picked up a nice road win against Nebraska. Derek Queen went absolutely crazy in that game. He had 24 points, 5 offensive rebounds, 6 defensive rebounds. He went 9 of 11 from 2, 6 of 6 from the line. He had an absolute monster day. And that just goes to show you, like, Nebraska had no answer for him. Because Reese also went for 13 and 12 in that game. So, like, it's really, really tough to, when you're trying to take away Queen, Reese will beat you. When you try and take away Reese, Queen will beat you. Derek Queen was the KenPom MVP. Selton Miguel contributed. He went 3 of 5 from 3. Rodney Rice had a quieter day, but still contributed 14 points. Jacoby Gillespie, about 15, 2, and 7 with just 2 turnovers. He's incredible. This is a really strong team, and they don't have a weak link in their offense. There's not one guy that you can just fade off of. There's not one guy that you can guard lightly. If you play off of Rodney Rice, he'll beat you off the dribble. If you play off of Selton Miguel, he can beat you from 3, right? If you play off of Gillespie, he is so quick at getting to his spot and getting his shot, he can beat you. There's no guy that you can just say, okay, he's the offensive liability, we don't have to worry about him. That doesn't work with this Maryland team, and they are so strong because of that. That's all I got for the Terrapins. They are probably in my top 3 best teams in the Big Ten. I think they could win the Big Ten tournament. I think they could be a dangerous team come March Madness. And I really, really enjoy watching them play. That's going to wrap up today's episode of the Double Bonus Show. Wanted to keep this one quick. Wanted to just talk a little bit about a team I've really enjoyed watching. Make sure you like, make sure you comment what your most underrated team is, and let me know in the comments how you feel about the Terrapins. Leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Most importantly, though, have a great day.